in IP, I see things 10 years before they hit the market.
Yeah.
We've been seeing these things, from a long time ago now.
Oh, yeah.
Finding new markets, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of, again, it's a little bit like the mobile markets, a lot of different technologies converging to make this happen. So it's always very interesting. And good
No, it sounds fascinating.
For IP licensing as well.
Efrat Kasznik, and she's the president and founder of Foresight Valuation, and Efrat is in charge of the firm's business development, thought leadership, and professional services activities. She brings over 25 years of diversified experience as an IP valuation and strategy expert, having assisted companies of all sizes across all ranges of industries with valuing, commercializing, and monetizing their innovation. Efrat is a regular lecturer on IP management at Stanford Graduate School of Business, and she's been doing this since 2011. She has been listed on the IAM 300 list of leading IP strategists every year since 2013. So it is a great privilege and honor to have her on this podcast today. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Alex.
Absolutely. So, you've been doing it for over a decade. Would you say like 18 years that you've been with your new business? Over 25 years. Okay. You two look too young. Okay. So over 25 years. And this has been, it seems like you've really developed a strong background, solid reputation, teaching, students and so forth to become, either legal representatives in this field or marketing or accountant and so forth in this field. And so your experience today, is it any different than when you started, or because things have technology-wise and what's happening in business today has the whole landscape has changed. So I'm just wondering, how you adapted, and what how you were able to kind of navigate all the changes and so forth.
Good question. So the field. So I'm in a very niche field of intellectual property valuation and strategy consulting in general. I'm not a lawyer, so we don't provide legal advice. There's a lot of lawyers out there who would build, say, a patent portfolio for you, or who would take your intellectual property and do licensing, or if things don't go well for you with trying to license your patents, take your patents to court for litigation, let's say. So this is kind of the spectrum of a lot of the type of things, transactions or other activity, and it doesn't always have to be patents. It's a broad definition that intellectual property is a legal definition that in the United States, it's very jurisdictional, includes patents, trade secrets, trademarks, which is kind of your brands, and copyrights, which is really hot right now in the courts with LLM training and things like that. So this is kind of the overall umbrella. We work hand in hand with the lawyers and the companies. So we are helping with advisory services around those activities. It can be valuation, it can be evaluation, which is a little different. It's every valuation in my mind starts with an evaluation, which is assessment of the assets that you're looking at, and then two, with those valuation approaches to how you value intellectual property. But a lot of what we do is going hand in hand with the lawyers now and the companies. It's either a law firm that needs services for one of their clients, or it would be a company that needs services for their own monetization strategy. It could be a university or a national federal lab that has intellectual property. It could be a startup that wants to use their intellectual property for funding. It could be an M&A deal. It could be a lot of different transactions. Whether intellectual property or the IP portfolio of the company, which always includes a combination of these assets, is used in a transaction in some way that needs to be valued. So that's kind of the common thing for everything we do.
Yeah.
And how have things changed? So the reason I'm giving you this background is that
see what's happening.
We change with the legal system. What we do is driven by patent laws at the time, patent litigation, the environment for what we call enforcement is how companies actually get to either litigate their patents or get licensing for their intellectual property. In the United States, we've had a lot of ups and downs. We kind of call it the pendulum. When I started in the late 90s. It was I can actually divide my career probably into 3 periods.
Okay.
I started in the late 90s, kind of in parallel with the rise of the .com and the internet and all of that. At that time, a lot of companies were waking up to intellectual property as an asset, as a strategic asset, not just a legal asset. So everybody at the time wanted to be the next IBM, and IBM has been rumored to generate, has a huge patent portfolio, and was rumored to be generating $1 billion a year in licensing. So a lot of large companies at the time that had very large portfolios, without naming names, but think about Microsoft, the Microsofts of the world, or the IBMs, were looking into licensing or doing other things with their patents that they were not necessarily using in their products, because a lot of these companies have more patents than their products are using. In those fields. I mean, there's other industries where there's a closer relationship, like pharma, but in the larger tech environment, that was the case. So that's when I started out. So there was a lot of kind of discovery kind of projects, like you would do what we call a portfolio mining. You would go into a very large company and look at what are some of the assets that they can be leveraged in other ways to get more money for the company. So that was, I would say, kind of the first maybe 10 years of what I was doing. So working in very large companies, doing a lot of big projects, national, international. Then came a period of time that, in conjunction with the .com bust, a lot of companies went under and a lot of patents flooded the market. And there started a different period of time, which was a period of enforcement. I don't know if you've ever heard the word patent trolls, but there were a lot of entities that started buying patents who they could find in the market from a lot of companies that went under, or there was a lot of capital coming into the market to buy those patents, and the whole area of patent litigation started taking momentum, gaining momentum. And that led to a period, and that was in conjunction with also the rise of the mobile industry. So that IP became very important. You think about the cell phone that is a convergence of many technologies. So a lot of companies found their patents all of a sudden, or their technologies, doesn't have to be just patents, very useful. A company like Xerox, for example, or a company like all sorts of companies that had, let's say, digital cameras and things like that all of a sudden became, or imaging or anything like that all fits in this small device. So anyways, so that was a period of a lot of transactions, a lot of litigation. And then that leads to, I think, the third part of what I've seen. That led to a patent reform that took place in 2011.
Okay.
And that was a period of time where things were getting a little bit out of hand in terms of all the litigation and everything that was going on. And legislators decided it's time to overhaul the patent system, introduced all sorts of things that we don't have to get into, but a lot of that led to, as you say, the pendulum started shifting back a little bit. So we got into a period where there's a lot of ambiguity in the United States about the validity of patents. And the value of patents. So that kind of led to a little bit of a decline in transactions, a little bit. So every time like that, and now we're back because we have a new director now, John Squires, appointed by Trump. We're entering another period that is going to be different from. So anybody listening to
adapting to
what's happening with patents. Yeah, it's changing. So anyway, the consulting has to follow the ecosystem. So whatever is happening with the court system, with legislation, with the business models that emerge in the market, we have to adjust. So for me, it's constant adjustment. Also, in our case, the Foresight Valuation Group, which is my firm, is also working a lot with startups. That is another area we need to follow as some of the listeners and you probably know, maybe you know more about startups and you know more about IP, but now we have AI. Before we had the cloud.
I'm curious that how does that? I'm sure it affects your business in many ways, and maybe it might even assist just your preparation, especially research and this and that. I mean, as far as like just certain tasks that used to be more human driven, where AI can perform things so much faster. Are you starting to incorporate that sort of thing into your organization at this point?
So in my case, IP valuation and consulting, I would say that there are three.
Yeah.
There's three ways you hear. One is tools, as you allude. Tools have been around.
Yeah.
Now AI tools for analyzing patents, for example, existed as we used to call it patent analytics, and that field, I mean, it's incorporating more of the AI type of things in that it's getting larger data sets and you can do better with it. But the idea of taking the entire database of the USPTO, the US Patent Office, which all those patents are available, are in the public domain, so you could take the data and analyze it and draw conclusions about patent holdings in certain areas and who is doing what. That has been around for a long time. So we are a very tool-driven.
You've been progressive, yeah.
Yeah, it's getting better. So that's one. Tools is one thing. But there's two other ways that it intersects with me. One is at the heart of patent law and copyright law, and there's a lot going on now in courts, not just in the U.S. but all over the world, with the courts and the patent office and on copyrights as well. So it affects patents and copyrights the most. The question is, what is patentable? And a lot of the dispute now is in an AI situation where you have something driven by the AI and something driven by a human. US patent laws talk about the patentability. In order for something to be eligible for a patent, it has to be invented by a person. But then it comes in the AI. So a lot of where the debate now is, what is the contribution? So you're trying to measure the relative contributions of the AI versus the human to decide. These are the new rules of the US Patent Office that just came out last year. So there's a lot of grappling with that. And the same with copyright. So think about works of art that are generated
by AI.
So, by AI. So that's number two, how it intersects with me. Number three, how it intersects with me is startup valuations and IP valuations as well, but more like startup valuations. So a lot of the work that we do, not just IP, is also in the startup valuation space. So a lot of the work I do as a testifying expert. I'm testifying cases as an expert witness on a lot of IP damages, IP valuation, but also startup valuations, and in all sorts of disputes involving different parties involved in a startup, and where the valuation, especially in the early days, can be disputed, right? I mean, there's no market, there's no market for the stock, so there's a lot of dispute around that. So the AI models are introducing, or the AI companies are introducing very, kind of crazy valuations out there, and and new business models too. And a lot of it is around data. So data is one type of asset that's very closely related to AI that we have been working in for a long period of time, much before the word AI was around as a
everywhere
term. And the question is data licensing. There's a lot of that. That to me is kind of an IP, right? It's not protected by patents, but it's protected by other things. And so what is the value of data sets? What is the value of an AI? So in all these different ways, we're enveloped by AI.
I know.
In all different directions, and also the technology itself. And working in IP, I see things 10 years before they hit the market. So we've been seeing these things, from a long time ago now. Finding new markets, and a lot of, again, it's a little bit like the mobile markets, a lot of different technologies converging to make this happen. So it's always very interesting. And
it sounds fascinating.
For IP licensing as well.
Well, like you're talking about, like, what's the value of AI and so forth in terms of valuation. And now there's, GPT or OpenAI is looking to eventually go public, probably in the not too distant future. How do you? I mean, and the valuations are supposed to be like incredible, in terms of what the projections are. As a person who has kind of sees so far ahead, how do you see that as a accurate reflection of what they're truly worth?
That's a long answer. I'll make it short.
Okay.
So the valuation of startups in general are a lot of times, especially if you get into the late stages and you need to raise a lot of money.
Yes.
The valuation kind of adjusts themselves to the funding, so it's not always.
Oh.
A lot of times, it's what I say, and I speak a lot about it in lectures that I gave in various places, and I would say it's a lot of the valuations are kind of an artifact of the VC business model, which you have to keep raising money, you have to attract either the same investors or new investors at an ever-growing valuation. So the company cannot allow the valuation to drop beyond what was the previous round. So when you have to keep growing, sometimes the growing value reflects expectations more than reality. But it has to keep growing, so it's almost like there's a valuation that's agreed upon by the investors in that round, and it's always going to be higher if you manage to close the round and people believe the valuation. It's always going to be higher than the previous one, and it also needs to bear a relationship to how much money you're raising. So because the money you're raising dilutes everybody else and gets a share in the company to anybody new that's coming in. So, if you're raising $1 billion, you need a valuation of 10 billion, let's say. If your previous valuation was 5, it needs to double. And it needs to double based on, sometimes there's no fundamentals. Oftentimes when you get to the very late stages, so I'm specifically talking about AI, you see there may be some revenues already or some users or something to base a valuation
Make
on.
projections of what the value might be.
Yeah, it's like we call it KPIs, like key performance indicators that you base a valuation on. It doesn't have to be financial. So a lot of like the new in the new world of the internet, we've gotten used to valuing companies with no revenues at billions of dollars based on users. They may have no revenues, or if you're a B2C, business to consumer, like think about social media. You don't get money from the users. Eventually, you get advertising, right? But a company like Instagram, that was acquired in 2011, maybe a couple of years after it started, had no revenues. They had no advertising, but they had millions of users. And they sold for $1 billion. So that is an example of
shows you the power
valuation that. It's based on a value per user. It's not based on any accounting metrics. So that type of thinking we are used to in the world of startups. Now we're beginning to look at things that some of these big AI companies, they haven't started monetizing yet. So they're still in the kind of R&D stage. They're building like the big LLM training machines. Like your OpenAI has revenues, but some of them maybe they do, maybe they don't, or they only charge it $20 a month, which is nothing compared to what the real value of the service is. You have to a lot of it is like expectations of how big this industry is going to be and what it's going to generate. Did I lose you?
No, just for a moment. It might be internet connected. Questions but I caught I got the gist of what you're offering. I mean, it's really interesting. How do you find your ideal clients? Do they come to you or do you go to them?
If they come to me or I go to them, clients.
Yes, that you work for.
We are very inbound in focus. Not about with service is doing a lot of what I call leadership. So I would do talks, I would do writing, member very active in the IT community. With IT services, unlike other services, a lot of education, as you mentioned. You
Yeah.
know that you need them, you need them. So there's not a lot of point in me going and so I do the education as a general education to find us. So a lot of our I would say our clients come either through referrals, personal referrals, us, previous engagements, me or one of the other colleagues from our activity in organizations, or they find us on our website.
Okay.
We have a good website.
Yeah, you do.
As searches as well as funds. As
Okay.
well as nowadays there is a AI searches. So we come through just yesterday with somebody who found us Perplexity,
Yeah.
which is like ChatGPT. We've had ChatGPT, we've had Claude, so we've had people now find us on these
Platforms.
as well. Yeah.
So somebody does a search. Someone does a search on Perplexity, let's say, and they say, you know, what's a good IP valuation company to contact, and
Yeah.
and you'll come up.
Might. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's probably related to the fact that you've done, your content is available, online, that through maybe your
Right.
webinars, your website, all this.
I call that thought leadership. So we are focused on building another type of IP to be able to, and we position ourselves value and specialty provider.
Oh yeah.
Society, which is a national part of an international organization of IT licensing people. I run the local chapter, I'm on board of the national chapter, I run meetings, I get events, everybody knows me there, so they will refer work to me if they need to,
Yeah. Yeah.
They know I may be the first person they think about when they think about IT valuation because they give it away.
Right.
It could be somebody that sponsor. We don't do a lot of sponsorship. I'm not a great believer in just putting a logo on something. So I would go to a conference like usually even speaking, but we get a decent amount of opportunities. That's helpful to speaking at a conference, doing a panel, being on stage, all of that.
Yeah.
So
Do you
it's building a
have?
brand.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you've already done that, so it's already strong. Yeah.
You're
Ongoing. Yeah, because you have all sorts of.
Ask any company. I mean, that's part of our consulting too, like brand, which is a type of IP, right? Ask, ask Coca-Cola, ask any company with a big brand, and look at their marketing expenses. And you'll see if you.
Oh, it's like a huge portion of their business.
Even Apple, even like the largest one.
Yeah.
Keep investing in. Yeah.
Do you have, what's your goals and aspirations for your company? Do you like keeping it at a certain size, or do you want to grow it or scale, or how do you see it?
Yeah, we're pretty good size now, site-wise. I mean, we're always looking for more works, but also diversified works. I personally am very entrepreneurial, so I'm always
Opportunity. Okay. Yeah.
It's usually a balance of larger companies and smaller companies, and on the litigation side, we're always looking for cases that are where we can bring in the unique expertise that we have. A lot of our cases. We started working on divorce cases about, I would say, 10 years ago.
Wow.
There's a lot of intellectual property that comes up in divorce.
Yeah. Especially where you're located in the Bay Area, and
well, this is California,
Yeah.
So there's a state case usually, but we work in other states as well. But divorce cases, in a divorce case, you have accountants that put value on the assets, and a lot of the physical assets like your car, your house, your bank account, and intellectual property, that's the one that's patents that are assigned to them. Probably gets either no value at all or no mention at all even. So a lot of it starts with finding what the assets are and putting value on it. It's a very, very unique expertise.
Well, that's it. I would say, yeah.
We get calls from other states as well because there's not a lot of people doing that. So this is an example of the kind of areas that I'm looking to grow into.
Expand your,
I can bring the same understanding of intellectual property into the area that was done. Or where it's needed and it hasn't been done yet. So.
No, that's great. It sounds like you definitely are looking outside just what would be, you think, a traditional way of thinking about intellectual property related to corporations or businesses that are developing something, and it's just like right.
There's always the for education and explaining to people why they need to think about their IP in a different way. It's not just legal. That's also the message for my students. So my students are.
I like that. Yeah.
Business school, MBA students, they're going to
Yeah.
the business leaders of America.
Of course.
They need to understand that these assets are critical assets, strategic assets for the business. And my message is, don't leave the management of your IP only to the lawyers, who either, say, in the case of patents, just add more patents or go to court to litigate. But there's
Right.
a lot of strategic thinking by lawyers. Lawyers are getting better too, but
Right.
so a lot of it's a business decision.
Well, a lot of it from a legal standpoint, the lawyers, they're looking at it from like, how are they going to bill as much as they can? You know what I mean?
This is your outside. I'm talking about your even your.
Oh, inside lawyer. I got you.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
as a lawyer,
Yeah.
you need to manage a portfolio. So you look at, how many patents you have, let's say, or
Right.
you want to file more and more. So look at this as an economic decision. Where should you file? Which patents do you not need anymore? So you can
Right.
tackle what we call
What you let go of. Yeah.
That,
There's a lot to it. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, who do you need to go after? It's infringing on your patents. Do you go after them? How do you go after them? What part of it? I started by telling the story of how I started out with companies starting to look at licensing patents that they're not using. Which part of your portfolio can you license? Nowadays, we also have a lot of complexities like standard organizations. If you think about telecom or areas with a lot of patents, a lot of IP, they get put into a standard, like 4, 5, 6, they're all standards that have tens, not hundreds of thousands of patents from a lot of different companies, and they need to be aggregated so that if you're an implementer of the standard, like say you build a cell phone, you have an easy access to that without infringement, and you just pay one fee to whoever. And there's a lot of litigation on that. So, I mean, there's a lot of complexity.
Yeah.
With time and with technology, it's getting more complicated. So lawyers, have a legal lens, but there's a lot of business that needs to go into.
You're bringing in that whole other side that is.
And numbers.
Yeah. Do you have direct competition? Like, is there another firm that you consider like, oh my God, they're like really innovative, or they're a strong competitor, I guess? Is there
a couple, not many, that are pure play IP valuation. There aren't that many. There's services offered by, let's say, Big Four, for example.
Right.
P&G might have a patent litigation group, or they can. There's a lot of value of IP or in its accounting name, intangible assets, that is done for purposes of financial reporting. That we can't do, but we don't. I would say that's not our main specialty. A lot of that is done by the Big Four accounting firms or companies like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's companies that do all sorts of financial services. They would have evaluation as one service. I mean, there's a lot of that. Definitely not the only one doing it. Pure play, there aren't that many pure plays. And I wouldn't even say that we are pure startup. We do litigation, so we do a lot of different things on the valuation side. We also do business valuation. We need to be in a company where IP is the main asset. So we wouldn't necessarily be the best choice to value, I don't know, like a pizza parlor, for example.
Yeah.
Unless there's a strong brand with, if there's no unique IP or technology in the business,
Right.
there's other people that can do it better and cheaper.
Right. Interesting. Well, this is fascinating. I mean, it's I'm really glad we had this conversation. Is there anything you'd like to sort of share with maybe up and coming grads from your like your programs at Stanford, or like maybe at Berkeley? They have these new people young men and women that are looking to like be the next whatever their heroes are,
consulting?
Elon
Okay.
Musk or whatever.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, you started a company, I would say, had an IP strategy from very difficult to play catch up to like
That's a
yeah. So
that's a huge point.
yeah, if you don't, you're very exposed. Then we've done a study on unicorns, like a company that got to $1 billion valuation. A lot of them did not really invest in creating a patent portfolio, and then they have to go out and buy companies or buy patents just to backfill the assets that they're missing. Because if you don't have a strong IP position, you're very exposed not only to people stealing your technology, but also to people trying to get into your field, and you can go after them.
Like barriers to entry for other companies.
What you call freedom to operate is really, really important. It's not just your IP, it's others' IP. And if you don't have something to trade, so a lot of the companies, they would just do what we call a core license. I would get access to your patents, you get access to my patents. And
right.
It's a peace truce, right?
So it creates a bigger portfolio.
You don't get to litigation if you can avoid it. That's another a piece of advice, especially patent litigation. You don't want
I can't even imagine. No.
Yeah, very
sounds
very unpredictable. And nowadays, you can get your patent invalidated. The reform that we talked about would let you bring somebody else's patents to the patent office, and you just find a bit of prior art, something that the examiner missed, and then you can very easily invalidate the patent. This has changed now with the record that I talked about. So there's a lot of these minutiae that we kind of know in the background when we advise clients, but just at a high level, IP strategy, a good understanding of what are patents before you decide you don't need patents for your business. Always talk to lawyers, don't make decisions yourself. Get a legal advice and make sure you have freedom to operate. Just a sound strategy going forward.
Yes.
Defensive or offensive.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, Efrat, it's been wonderful. I think you've shared such great wisdom. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Okay.
And I wish you the best. And I think the way that you're diversifying in so many different directions, that your business is set and sound for many, many years. It seems.
I hope so. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day. Okay, bye-bye.
And so, Efrat? Hello? I didn't say this.